Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you I don't know, my name is Patty Mulvihill. I'm the Executive Director for the League of Oregon Cities. Welcome to this Friday's legislative webinar. If you've not already done so, please make sure that your microphone is muted. That makes it easier for everybody to hear the primary presentations from lobbyists today. Also important to us as your league staff, if you've not yet done so, can you please identify yourself by the city you represent? We make that request because when we get to the Q&A portion of today's events, we like to prioritize our members instead of any members of the general public who may be attending today as well. It's important for us that we prioritize members' questions before getting to any member of the general public. For today's legislative webinar, we don't have a lot, so this could be shorter unless you ask a lot of questions, but we're going to start with our top legislative bills of the week, and then we're going to give you a generalized update. And within those, we've really only got 4 specific bills and some information on the transportation package that's gone out, or at least the framework for that package. So for those who keep track, today what we're going to be talking about specifically is House Bill 3634. That's the Water and Wastewater Operator Training Bill we've mentioned a few times already. House Bill 3654, that's a new one for us to discuss today. That establishes maximum matching funds for smaller cities who might be seeking state grants. Senate Bill 65, which deals with damages for violations of Article 1 of the Constitution. We've talked about that before. We've got some updates. And then the framework for the transportation package. So we're going to start with some presentations. As always, we'll do questions and answers at the end. If you've got a question and you don't want to lose it, feel free to put it in the chat. And we'll go from there. I've got a comment that Mayor Morgan can't hear anything. Can others hear me? Michael, are you hearing me okay? I see you on screen. You're nodding yes. Okay, Mayor
Yes.
Morgan, it must be something on your end. So we're going to start today with Michael. Michael's our water lobbyist here, if you've not yet met him. Michael, you've got 2 bills for us today. House Bill 3634, the operator and training, and House Bill 3654, which deals with caps on matching grants for cities. Let's start with 3634.
Okay, yeah, happy to. So, okay. Everybody muted? Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Michael Martin. I'm the league's water lobbyist. And as Patty said, there are 2 bills I want to give you an update on. I think it's good to share good news whenever we can get it. So the 2 key bills that passed out of policy committee, I'll start with one of our top 9 priorities. That is the operator and training or water workforce. It's a win because it passed out of policy committee ahead of key legislative deadlines before bills die. And it was the last bill on the last possible day for this committee to meet. So first, House Bill 3634, what it does is it would provide $3.5 million through the Higher Education Coordinating Commission and then out through the Workforce Development Boards, where entities could apply for that money to train drinking water and wastewater operators. So that's what it does. Part of the rationale there, although in the current climate, it might seem a little silly, but through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, there would be an opportunity to pull down federal funds. Why it matters, as you know, drinking water, wastewater operators, our cities need these folks to continue. There's a lot of workforce challenges, but the broad workforce, the specific workforce challenge that we're facing here is having qualified drinking water and wastewater operators. So thank you to everyone who reached out to their member. It passed the committee unanimously, and really appreciate everyone's engagement. And I will continue to reach out because there is a limited funding this session, to say the least. And it will be a battle to ensure that this priority makes it in final budget.
So Michael,
oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Michael, it's a couple of follow-up questions. So it's out of committee. Where does it go now?
It's referred to Ways and Means Committee.
And what happens in Ways and Means?
Once it gets actually assigned to a subcommittee, it's going to go through that committee's process for budget. And like I said, I really want to emphasize this. There is significant pressure for all the requests that have been, all the budget requests that have been made, for they're really needing to follow what the budget framework that the co-chairs of Ways and Means put out. And I think two things to remember. I think this prioritizes health and public safety. And I think there's an opportunity for this program to get the most bang for the buck in terms of pulling the ability to pull down federal funding so we can train drinking water and wastewater operators.
So when you said we have a win, it's a short-term win. The long-term win still is going to require work from the members.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to the second bill you've got, House Bill 3654. I think this is a new bill update for the members. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is a new bill update. And I want to say at the top, thank you to Sean Tate for all his work on this, and for the members who have engaged on this bill. So what does this bill do? So it limits match fund requirements for incorporated cities with a population no greater than 20,000. So I believe that's over 200 of our members. Similarly, this bill passed out of committee unanimously, but it was a scrap right up to the end to ensure that this bill was passed out of policy committee. That's effectively the legislature's way of saying, is it a good policy? Is it a bad policy? And it passed out of policy committee. There is no fiscal on this, so it will actually not go to Ways and Means. So it will head over to the Senate, and we are working through some of the details on some of the pushback that we received on this. But the bottom line is this is a benefit for cities. It's a win for our members, and we're going to continue to push on the legislature and lower those matching requirements for grants. So
Do you need anything from the members at this time on the bill?
at the immediate time, no, but just if we reach out, or any other lobbyists reach out on bills, it really goes a long way when we can get your engagement and legislators are hearing from their members on what's important.
Thanks, Michael. We're going to pivot now to Scott Winkles. Most of you are familiar with Scott. He's our general government lobbyist. Scott's been hard at work this session. One of the things he's worked hard on and talked with a lot of you guys about is Senate Bill 65. So Scott, I think we have good news on this bill, but can you just briefly describe what the bill did and where it stands?
Sure. This will be pretty brief. We just like to give members closure when we've asked them to weigh in on a bill and talked and asked them to express concerns on it. But what the bill would have done is expose cities to a significant amount of legal liability for any violation of the 47 amendments in Article 1 of the Oregon Constitution, and cover the prevailing party attorney's fees. The bill, a lot of conversations on the bill, kind of coming at us from both ends of the political spectrum on it, and eventually it did not proceed through committee. It remains in Senate Judiciary past the deadline, meaning it is dead this session. So this is not a thing that we will have to worry about. For now, the chair did indicate that there might be some sort of a work group in the interim. Going forward, we'll see if that materializes. But I wanted to just give everybody a closure on this bill, because I know it had been a source of considerable concern to cities and particularly legal counsels and risk carriers. So that bill is no longer.
And Scott, do you attribute some of it being dead to the work our members did on their outreach with legislators?
Absolutely. This was a team effort. I think I want to give a tremendous amount of credit to the grassroots from our members. I will also say AOC stepped up in a big way. They have two new lobbyists that did a great job on this bill. Our friends on the public safety community as well. So this was a all hands win from the local government coalition.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. That's kind of it for our what I call specific bill updates today. I do want to give you a brief update on where we stand with a framework for the 2025 transportation bill. Normally, you'd be getting that update from Jim McCauley, who's our legislative director and manages the transportation portfolio. He can't be with us today. So he's asked me to kind of do a quick overview, just kind of on some things that you need to know. So first and foremost, we expect in the very near future that we will be asking you as our members to really push advocacy efforts to get a 2025 transportation package passed. We expect the intensity and our need to rely on you for assistance will in fact increase dramatically. And the reason why is this package is going to be difficult in terms of getting the votes we needed because of the tax and fee provisions contained within the framework. We're not in the best economic place right now, and as a result, we're going to have challenges given how big the package is and how it is intending to be funded. However, if we don't get the transportation package passed, ODOT is going to have to significantly adjust their operations, which will result in services to your communities being reduced and could impact our own transportation packages at the city levels. For your perspective, what is in the framework is what you told the league you needed and what the league wanted to see. So we're pretty pleased with what has come out of the overall transportation package. Projected funding levels of 1.9 billion per annum is significant because it translates into about $340 million of additional revenue to cities every other year, or 170 million per year. To put that into context, today cities receive an allocation of roughly 210 annually. So this is going to increase, represents a nearly 80% increase in transportation investments into cities and counties. For now, if you are communicating with your legislators, and we do really strongly encourage consistent comments and questions and communications with your legislator, is that we have to keep the state highway funding formula in place. It's critical for you to be able to maintain your roads. So that 50-30-20 split is really the lifeblood for stable funding for city street maintenance and improvements. We are asking that you let legislators know that you support their efforts to pass the legislation and that their constituents will benefit from increased investments in road and infrastructure. So overall, you're going to be hearing a lot from Jim McCauley about our need to have conversations with legislators about the transportation package if we have hopes of getting it passed, given where we stand right now, economically, federally, and at the state level, and quite frankly, where you all stand with your budgets. That's what we have in terms of a primary presentation today. If you've got questions on that specific bill or other pieces of legislation you or your community are tracking, now would be the time to ask. You can either raise your Zoom hand and I will call on you. You can put questions in the chat if you have them. While we're doing that, because sometimes I know it takes a minute for people to pop in the questions. I've got one from Peter Hall. Peter, you can unmute yourself. Reminder, it's an opportunity for questions. What's your question, Peter?
I just want to see, are we going to be testifying the grant at the Ways and Means Committee? Is there one thing that maybe I could toss to them that you guys want me to, that would be a good thing for me to do?
That's a great question, Peter. Jenna, are you on today's call?
I am. Peter, if you subscribe to our bulletin or know how to get to our bulletin, I'll also put it in the chat, but we have our kind of top line priorities for Ways and Means and all of the asks we've been doing. We did some conversations with the co-chairs this week and really doubled down on things like infrastructure and technical assistance. So I'll put that in the chat. And yeah, any help on any of those items would be helpful.
Right. Is there one though that stands out? I want to know if there's one that stands out.
Say infrastructure. Like I think that is our top line ask, that we need more infrastructure funding.
Okay.
Whether that be for when, you know, all of Michael's operators and training things need to be funded, so we have long-standing water operators in the future to operate that infrastructure. I think both of those would be helpful.
Great. Thanks, Jenna. And thanks for the question, Peter. I've got one in the chat from the city of Madras. Nolan, I think this one is probably for you if you're on the call today. The question from the city of Madras is, were any of the small modular reactor bills able to make it through the cutoff period?
Yeah, so there were a couple bills related to nuclear that passed. One was the study bill. And the other was House Bill 2410, which is the demonstration project for Umatilla County. Unfortunately, the statewide referral did not make it out of the committee.
Okay. And Nolan, just for those who may not be familiar, briefly, a study bill means what?
So oftentimes we get many study bills. Those tend to be placeholders. This is a true study bill for the Department of Energy to study the impacts of nuclear energy in Oregon, as well as waste storage in and of itself. A lot of the legislators we talked to basically said that they didn't feel comfortable pushing this right now without a larger study. So they have the Oregon Department of Energy set up to do a study on nuclear energy that will also include small modular reactors.
And how long are they supposed to study it for, Nolan? Any sense on that?
2 years.
2 years. Awesome. Thanks. Appreciate it. If you guys have other questions, keep throwing them in the chat. I've got one from the city of Millersburg from Matt Straight. You mentioned a bill introducing sliding scales for grant matches based on city sizes. Can you talk about that a little bit more? So Michael, that's for you. Can you talk about the city sizes that would be impacted by that bill and the cap thresholds for some more details?
Yeah, happy to do that. So again, this is House Bill 3634, passed out of policy committee ahead of great deadline. And so what it would do, it would limit matching fund requirements. There's a lot of detail here, but so with cities with a population of 5,000 or less, it would be up to 3% of a grant reward of 100,000 or less. This can get this will get a little granular. And then cities with a population of greater than 7,500, but not more than 10,000, it would be to 9% of the grant award. And then with cities with a population of 10,000, but not more than 20,000, it would be up to 12% of the grant award. So, happy to reach out to you directly, and I can, send some of that detail in writing if that's more helpful. But that's the general level, is like there's a population threshold, and then there's a percentage for the matching grant of what that would be limited to. So
Thanks. Michael, can you drop that in, at least the bill itself? Can you drop that link into the chat, please, for people who are interested in kind of taking a look at it themselves?
me too. Thanks for the question.
Awesome. Great. Okay, keep your questions coming if you have them. If we do that, just a few general quick reminders while I wait for more questions to pop up or hands to rise. The LOC Spring Conference is happening in less than 3 weeks in North Bend at the Mill Casino. We are currently sitting at well north of 200 registered attendees, which means we are probably on the verge of having to close registration for members. If this is still something on your maybe or not maybe list, I would encourage you to get registered this week before we have to actually close the registration portal and cap numbers. The other thing to talk about is we do have 2 upcoming trainings that might be of interest to you or to your members, whether they're staff or elected officials. We have a training on Oregon public contracting and how you can manage through that pretty complicated system of statutes and regulatory authority. It's a virtual training, so it should be easily accessible to everybody. It's happening on April 22nd, and the cost for it is only $79. The second one is Mastering Media Interactions. This training is an in-person training on June 11th here in Salem. The cost is $249. If you are somebody who regularly has to speak with members of the press or is considered to be your city's spokesperson, this would be a good opportunity for you to do it. I do have a question from Mayor Beatty out of Milwaukee. The question is, the work group bills on measures 5 and 50 appeared to make the cut so far, but what is the prognosis? Jenna, I believe that one's going to be directed to you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Mayor Beatty. We're still working with the chair of the House Revenue Committee, Representative Nathanson, to figure out which one might be the best pathway forward. There are 2 different vehicles we could use, and she's definitely interested in having a conversation that follows post-session into the interim, and we start looking at things to bring back for the 2027 session. So I think right now we're just trying to rally up more stakeholders in the sense of, like, we know that the counties are on board, school districts will likely be on board if we're talking property tax reform. So outside of the local government sphere, where are some of those research hubs or universities that could help with some of the data and like forecasting what a new property tax system looks like and what may be different pieces of the puzzle. So that's where we're at right now, is just trying to see how it could be implemented of actually having a functional work group that comes back with solutions.
Jenna, do we have a seat at that work group?
We will if it passes. So, and we've been working really hard with the chair, and I will say special thank yous to City of Eugene because they've been really helpful as well.
Great. Okay, everybody, I don't have any additional updates, neither does staff, so I'm going to hold here for 10 seconds in case any of you have questions you haven't asked yet. And if not, this might be one of our shortest Friday updates. It's not because your lobbyists aren't hard at work. It's not because the legislature has called it a day or decided to make everybody's lives easier. It's just kind of the reality of where we are in the process at this time of the year. So I am not seeing any more questions. It's Friday. Go enjoy your lunches. Hopefully you can enjoy your weekends. And thank you for everything that you do for your cities, your communities, and especially for us here at the League. We wouldn't be seeing some of the wins we've got without your consistent help and support. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday.